Every inch of the house is swathed in black. Every piece of food served is dyed black. The only conversation topic is slaughter, and there's a gravestone with your name on it, right next to you. Where in God's name are you? An ancient Roman Halloween party. Luxury, pleasure, and indulgence in the senses were staples of the ancient Roman party scene. Dining and drinking, much like now, were commonplace. But the Romans tended to get up to more, much more to the point of excess. Welcome to History on Fleek. Join us as we join the revel of eating till vomiting, festivals to the gods getting out of hand, frightening Halloween banquets, private residences of debauchery, and emperors indulging in excess. You may have come to this video thinking you knew how to party, but prepare for your jaw to drop when you see how the Romans did it. A well-known detail of ancient Roman parties was their penchant for barfing. Yeah, they loved a good chunder, couldn't get enough of it. It was even believed at the time that purging one's stomach contents was medically acceptable. Not too much, mind you. Conversely, there was a morality and message behind food and consumption. The upstanding Roman man was someone committed to their family, the state, and the gods. Someone excessively eating to the point of purging was committed to vices and not virtues. Therefore, wouldn't you know it, we have been left with plenty of tales of the most powerful figures in ancient Rome vomiting like it was a competitive sport, on a diet that could include mountains of sausages, sow's udder, sea bream, flamingo tongues, blood pudding, and pheasant brains. The most elite of Romans were ready to refund their meal, if you will. The vomitorium was a real phenomenon. A room next to the dining room was prepared with large vases for dinner guests to empty their stomachs and make room for the next course. It's been written, Emperor Claudius was routinely bloated from excessive food and wine at banquets. His process to deal with this was to lie horizontally and use a feather to tickle his throat and trigger the rise of his stomach's contents. Emperor Vitellius, an 8-month ruler from April to December of 69 CE, was supposedly an all-time champion of the vomitorium. Vitellius is written as having feasted up to 4 times a day on the most lavish and rich of meals. Emperor Vitellius was not only vomiting between his 4 feasts a day to make sure he had room, he was remarked by some he rather enjoyed it. Cassius Dio, the historian, would write that Vitellius was nourished as much by the passing of food as the consumption. Doesn't that just turn your stomach? Never mind. Dinner parties were the thing to do for anyone who was anyone in ancient Rome. The term symposium was born in ancient Rome, literally meaning to drink together. The Romans of antiquity would famously state, "A meal without wine is like a garden without flowers." They took wine seriously, served with every single course of a banquet. Wine also had its own strata and section for any function. The symposium would typically begin after the banquet had been served, with guests having their wine served into individual cups with a ladle. Sounds pretty good, huh? Yeah, there were 2 significant differences in how we consume and serve our wine today. Firstly, the Romans and supposedly the Greeks of antiquity believed that wine should be consumed mixed with water. If you didn't water down your wine in ancient Rome, you were uncouth, loutish, more or less socially ghastly. Finally, wine tended to be served by nude slaves, often quite attractive males. Can I get you anything with your drink, guys? Yeah, could you put some clothes on? Or maybe… The Romans knew how to throw a party that the attendees would likely never forget, be it ample stacks of gorgeous food to gorge upon, the finest wines flowing, or numerous pleasing bodies to please the senses. That being said, when the Romans threw a party for the wine god Bacchus, things kinda escalated. Yeah, kinda escalated to the point where the Senate had to step in. In the view of antiquity, historian Livy, the Bacchanalia was somewhere between a grand lavish party and a festival of decadent excess. Originating in ancient Greece, the Bacchanalia are believed to have reached their pinnacle around 2 BCE. At this point, people participating in the celebrations were not only the elite and patricians of ancient Rome, but just about anyone who wished to indulge. Livy would claim that Bacchanalia meant forward conversation of a sexual nature over wine would be a prelude to the act itself. Though this was just the beginning, Bacchanalia came to be viewed as something of a cult. Gatherings in woods and private homesteads would become debauched spectacles of wanton sex, animal sacrifice, feasting, and drinking. Being a celebration of a god, the Bacchanalia did have rites, rituals that were followed. However, details of this are a little hard to find. Only rumors of poisonings and murder can be found. Such mutterings must have reached the higher-ups of Roman society, and in 186 BCE, the Roman Senate voted to quell the Bacchanalia. Nothing like a naive Senate. The Romans threw parties for a wine god, and they got out of hand. Whoa, who would have guessed? Emperor Nero, a famous name in history and an absolute terror to the Roman public, routinely destroyed in most reviews of his reign as either compulsive or corrupt, or sometimes both. However, like many of his countrymen and the culture of the land, Nero was something of a party animal. He certainly found an appetite to party like seldom seen elsewhere. After the Great Fire of Rome, 64 AD, which razed 2/3 of the city, Emperor Nero had a domus aurea constructed. That's a golden house to you and I, a lavish complex for all things private and debauched. I should mention, there were protestations at the time. Nero may have started the fire to make space for his ultimate bunga-bunga complex. Are you getting the compulsive and corrupt claims yet? Yeah, either way the truth lies, with the Golden House, Emperor Nero would host parties off the handle even by ancient Roman standards. In the Conatio Rotunda, that's a rotating dining room to you and I, Nero is said to have piled so much luxurious food of such quantity, they were only allowed to leave the rotunda if they were going to purge their food in order to eat more. Oh yeah, there was one other reason they were allowed to leave the rotunda: to have sex. If rumor and innuendo are to be believed, Nero would have men and women tied to posts before dressing up in wild animal skins and having his way with them. If you find that nasty or disturbing, no one was allowed to leave the Golden House until Nero opened the doors and declared the party over. Emperor Nero, the host, to tie you to a post? Among many who shared his highest stature, Emperor Domitian was considered a tyrant, autocrat, and generally unpleasant human to be around. His reign lasted 15 years from 81 CE to 96 CE. He was appointed emperor by the Praetorian Guard and assassinated by officials, appointed by bureaucracy, killed by bureaucracy, and reigned like another B word. His rebuilding of Rome earned him many plaudits, but his ruthlessness earned him an ample amount of outright fear. So as you can imagine, when Emperor Domitian invites you to a banquet on Halloween, you might just be scared for your life. Legend has it, the emperor was entirely aware of such a fearsome reputation himself and had no problem leaning into it. When the guests arrived this fated Halloween, they found the entire hall enveloped in black fabric and cloth. When each guest sat to eat at the banquet, they found a gravestone with their name on it beside their place. When the food arrived, every last piece was dyed black. Throughout the entire meal, the fascist emperor spoke openly and feverishly of slaughter and death. There was not a single doubt among the attendees that this was their last night on Earth. But it wasn't. Once every last one of them was either stuttering or sweating in fear, Emperor Domitian revealed it was all a prank, gave every last one of them gifts, and sent them home. As I said, reigned like a B word. Anybody who's ever been to a party worth attending will tell you it's all about the location. The right digs likely means an all right gig. In ancient Rome, it was no different. Look no further than Villa Jovis, the home of Emperor Tiberius, found at a clifftop of Capri. While the place itself is a vision, sight to behold, what took place there was, nasty. After its completion in 27 AD, Emperor Tiberius is supposed to have spent the last 10 years of his life there growing increasingly depressed and isolated. Supposedly, as his isolation grew, the once brilliant emperor grew increasingly bitter and detached from reality, requiring ever-escalating pastimes to find joy in his life. It is believed Tiberius would gather scores of promiscuous individuals to have sex before him, sometimes 3 couples at a time, just to bring him excitement. Every last room in the villa was decorated with paintings and sculptures, erotic in nature. A library was supposedly at the villa too, riddled with erotic literature, should any of the performers run out of ideas. Staggeringly, these are the tales just within the bounds of debauchery. Some further tales and rumors beggar all belief and are likely to have been written by enemies hoping to corrupt a reputation. That being said, the story goes, in the woods of Capri nearby, he arranged for girls and boys to essentially act as nymphs and pans for his delight. One abominable rumor about Tiberius at his villa is his training of little boys to provide pleasurable contact for him as he went swimming. It should be stated, exaggerated writings of later generations are common in Roman lore. Take, for instance, tales of Messalina, the wife to Emperor Claudius. It's written that she once competed with a prostitute to see how many men they could bed in a single night. Wow! According to legend, Messalina won the contest with a grand total of 25. Quite the tale. But is it true? Do we want to know? This is History on Fleek, and we'll see you next time.